Hey guys, happy July 4th. Sheri Richardson here from Experimental Homesteader Exotic Gardening, Biannual Blogathon Bash, and SheriAnnRicherson.com. And today I want to talk to you about finding the right location for your homestead or your emergency shelter. You all know in real estate it's about location, location, location. Well, the same is true if you're going to build a home, even if it's a straw bale home, whatever type of home or structure it's going to be. Your location is really important. And if you are out in the wilderness, you are camping, you're bugging out, whatever it is you're doing, it's also equally important that you choose a good location for your tent or your teepee or your structure. First of all, you want to avoid open fields, you want to avoid mountain peaks, and you want to avoid areas deep in a forest or jungle. Now, it might seem like the deeper into an area that you are, a forested area, the less likely it is that you're going to be found. But what you need to think about is, in damp situations, those areas take a lot longer to dry out. Open fields leave you wide open to everything around you. And while a mountain peak might seem like a really great idea for visibility, it's really, really not. You want to look for a transition area between habitats, such as right on the edge of a woods, or some other transition area like that. You do want to make sure that there's nothing around the area you choose that could collapse and cause your home to collapse, or your tent or whatever, because not only could you lose your living area, but somebody could get hurt if somebody was inside of it and something collapsed on top of it. Another thing you want to look for if you are building your own shelter, you want to choose an area that has plenty of building materials nearby, because you're going to have to possibly cut trees down, or whatever it takes to create your shelter, and you're not going to want to drag those very far away. You also want to make sure the area you choose is really well drained. You don't want to wake up and have your living area filled with water. Equally, you don't want to be too close to a stream or lake. Now, I realize the closer you are, the less length you have to carry water, but it also opens you up to your shelter getting flooded should you get a lot of rain and the water escape the banks. So really look for a place that has optimum drainage. You don't want to build in gullies or drainage ditches. Low-lying areas, avoid those. And like I said, you want to avoid building really close to any type of waterway as well. It's really important that your shelter be free of dampness and also mosquitoes. And we all know that mosquitoes really head towards water, so this is something that you want to avoid at all costs. It's much, much easier and safer to carry water than to have something happen to your shelter and have to rebuild the shelter, or worse, get sick because of living in a damp area or in an area where there's mosquitoes that are going to bite you. You also want to check the flora and fauna in the area. Scrape the ground free. You really need to know your plants. You also need to know what animals inhabit the area, because if you choose an area that has dangerous plants or animals, that's just not a good area to build. And while you may have to temporarily, put up a tent or make some kind of makeshift shelter, that is not an area that you would want to have a permanent structure or plan to stay any length of time at. Like I said, clear the ground, look at the bare ground, make sure there's nothing else there that might keep you from being able to stay there. massive ant hills, or just, really look the area over, because it's really important that whatever area you choose is a good area and is safe and is going to be inhabitable. Another thing a lot of people don't think about, when you build your fires, because you're going to need fire to cook on, possibly to keep warm, it needs to be at least 12 feet away from your structure, and you need to make sure that the fire is not blowing back towards your structure when the wind blows. And I know the wind shifts directions, but you really want your fire to be downwind of your structure, if at all possible. Because structures made of natural materials will catch fire really easily. And again, you don't want this to happen to you. Now, those of you that have watched any of the homesteading shows on TV, you know some of the things that these people have done that really was not a good idea to start with. Really use some common sense and really look around the area. If you need to build a temporary shelter until you can decide if this is the right spot for you, then do that. It's always a good idea to keep a tarp in your go bag, or some kind of emergency blankets or something. Tarps are really best because they're waterproof, but some kind of something that you can put up to erect a temporary shelter until you get to where you're going. Now, if you're building a homestead, if you're building a straw bale house, or you're going to build a wood house or whatever, I really encourage you, once you have your piece of land, to take your time, live in a temporary shelter. Even if you get a camper or something similar, even if you have to borrow or rent something like that, get to know your piece of land before you choose the area that you're going to put your home on. Make sure your home is setting up higher, not down low, because again, if you can have your building on some kind of hill, then the water is going to flow away from it instead of flowing into it. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, was how to choose a location for your homestead, choose a location for emergency shelter. This is something that really everyone should know, even if you think you're never going to need it, because you just never know. People are displaced all the time because of wildfires, tornadoes, typhoons, hurricanes. And while it is ideal in our society to go stay with friends or family whose home is still okay, go stay in a hotel someplace, all of these things take money, and you have to have a plan to get from point A to point B. And we know that sometimes that plan, even though it may be very sound, doesn't work because there can be fuel shortages, there can be road blockages, all kinds of things can happen that you don't plan on. So understanding how to pick a place to put an emergency shelter, if that's what you need to do, is very, very important for your safety, for your family's safety. And even if you intend to sleep in your car, park your car someplace and sleep inside of it for safety, you need to know where to park your car, because cars can flood, areas can flood, and you could be trapped. So, like I said, this is some really good advice that I'm trying to share with you, and I hope that you will pass it on. I hope that you will share this video with people. I hope that you will comment below and ask some questions if you need some clarification on anything. I definitely hope you will subscribe, because I intend to do more of this type of video in the future, where I share some survival tips with you and just some basic common sense kind of tips that hopefully will help you. And this not only goes for your home and your survival, but think about this if you're going to have livestock. You want a really good spot on your farm to put your barn. You don't want water backflowing into it and flooding every time you get a little high water or every time you get a rain, because we all know that can cause problems with animals. It can make them sick. It can cause hoof problems. You know, many things can happen. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Again, please subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments below. Hope all of you had a safe and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you tomorrow with another daily vlog.